Hello, everyone. It's Leslie Flowers, and welcome again to Awakening Your Infinite Potential Telesummit. And today I'm so excited to introduce you to Haley Lynn Gray. Haley founded Leadership Girl with the radical notion that women can actually harness their unique power and skills to become highly effective leaders. Best-selling author of Leadership Girl and graduate of Duke University's Fuqua School of Business with an MBA, and her concentration is in entrepreneurship and innovation. Isn't that an interesting combination? And Haley has experienced starting up small businesses, growing them, and then selling them. She has an exit strategy. Now, she's worked with hundreds of small business owners since she founded Leadership Girl and really has a passion helping you find the best ways to grow your business to become really visible in your industry and become also the go-to expert, all the while saving you money, which I love. She also is founder of a Facebook group for women, Women's Entrepreneur Network, that in 2 years she grew to 60,000 members, an engaging and helpful group. This is critical. So by working with one-on-one clients in small groups with a number of different programs, Haley can help you grow your business in a way that actually makes sense for you, since she knows no two businesses are actually the same. When Haley's not working, she's an avid volunteer and is on the board of directors for Cure AHC and My Sahana, a longtime Girl Scout troop leader and volunteer, and oh yes, cookies galore. Mother of 4 active kids, she has a mini zoo in her home. Is this like you? With a variety of pets, including cats, a horse, a chinchilla, Ramza, rabbit, fish, and turtles. She understands that sometimes life gets in the way and is messy, but even then, it's beautiful anyway. So welcome to the Telesummit, Haley. Tell us about you and your awakening moment where you discovered you had infinite potential.
Well, thank you. I am so excited to be here and really, talk to your audience about this, because a lot of times people look at me like I am now, especially with the Women's Entrepreneur Network and professionally, and they're like, oh, she's just got it. This is easy peasy lemon squeezy for her. And it has really not always been that way. I actually am a computer programmer by training. And if you know anything about computer programmers, you know that we are not typically exactly extroverts. And I was a programmer for many years in my career and really wanted more. I had always had the goal and the vision that I could move myself up the corporate ladder. And I kept having kids. I kept finding myself pregnant, babies, all of that, and not really going where I wanted to go in my career, and really frustrated by the whole thing. And I kind of felt every day when I went to work, it was a little bit like I was dying a bit on the inside, because I was following somebody else's rules constantly. So I was trying to figure out where I was going to go from there. And I knew that I ultimately had wanted to get my MBA when I was a little bit younger. So I went ahead and I signed up for my MBA at Duke. And my husband was surprisingly supportive of the whole process of me getting my MBA. And while I was there, the shutters on my eyes started coming off. My managers at my corporate job kept telling me that I was going to leave. And I'm like, no, I'm not. I'm going to be here the whole time. And I really had no intention of leaving. So it was that, no, I'm going to be here in my corporate job forever. I'm going to, just grow. I'm going to move into executive, into leadership, more leadership roles, move my way up the feeding, chain, and just keep going that way. And it really wasn't, hey, I'm going to leave. but it became this like almost like little drops of awareness where I started saying, there's more out there. There's more that can be done. And I really started kind of looking around me and seeing what the opportunities were. And it was really that just a little bit here and a little bit there. It wasn't like any great big ta-da kind of a thing, but just like little teeny tiny cracks. And I could see sunlight kind of coming through. And people would come to me while I was in the program. I had other friends who had small businesses, and they're like, so you're getting your MBA at Duke. Here, can you run through my numbers and tell me what it is exactly that I need to do here? Should I buy that new storefront? Should I do this? Should I do that? Should I do the other? And it was really at that point where I discovered a passion for helping small business owners figure out what they were going to do in their business and problem solving and helping them figure out the right solution that worked for them, not what they thought they should do, but to really go digging, at a deeper level and figure out, okay, so here's what you think you should do, but what if we look at all of the possibilities and, think outside of the proverbial box just a bit and ignore the fact that maybe there's a box and consider all of the alternatives. So I had one friend who was like, should I go buy this plot of land here and build a store, but we're going to have to grow our revenue 40% just to accommodate this? And I was like, so we actually took a step back, and ultimately they ended up deciding to close their storefront, and they just do calls and they do service calls, and they reduced the number of employees they had and increased the amount of money in their pocket at the end of the day, reducing their stress levels. So sometimes it's that, oh my, you can find another solution that is maybe not the most obvious solution. And so that was kind of that first big win for me, where it was exciting. I was totally thrilled by getting to see the results of, okay, so I'm helping my clients get really good results that are maybe not even what they dreamed that they could do, maybe even better than they thought, with options that they didn't even realize that they had, and making more money, working fewer hours, less stress, and getting what they really wanted in life. And it was addictive. It was honestly so addictive to me, somebody who had been an engineer. And yes, engineering is about problem solving and everything, but it doesn't really affect people's lives and make a huge difference. And that was that point for me where it was like, oh, you mean I can get to help people and get paid for this? And so it was so really exciting and really addictive, where I was like, wow, I get to help people figure out how to build their lives and their businesses and put them all together and make it work.
So, Haley, let me ask you a question. So once you figured out that this was your passion, clearly you began to see lots of solutions for yourself, and somebody actually helped you, right? And there's something that happened, and you had your awakening moment and realized this was your gift. So if that is happening to someone who's listening, what were your actual first couple of steps to get yourself into action?
Right. I did a few different things. I made sure that I got my entrepreneurship and innovation concentration because I was still at Duke. So I made sure I took as many classes as I could. I was already there. I was in the middle of the program. I started meeting other people who were starting their businesses and asking a lot of questions and really working through that whole process of, okay, so what does it look like for me to do this? I also started doing things like blogging and trying different things out and talking to other people who had blogs and who had websites and who had those kinds of things, so that I could start to understand what all of the pieces were that I really needed to look at, not just from an academic perspective, because that's great, but it's always, such a thimbleful compared to what you're actually going to have to learn, because you can only learn so much in such a short period of time. And I really enjoyed getting to know other entrepreneurs who were facing a lot of the same challenges that I was, or who maybe were ahead of me and who had a lot of really valuable advice. After a little while, I started searching online, and I found Becky Dixon's group, and she's changed the name of that group a couple of times now. And I found other entrepreneurial groups online, and those really sort of gave me a lot of insight into the coaching industry, because I discovered Marie Forleo, I discovered Kendrick Shope, many different coaches, and I started looking and reading and going through this whole process of learning more and more and more. As I was finishing my program, trying to decide my exit strategy from corporate, and really working through my concentration and really trying to absorb all of the pieces that I needed to learn while I was in my concentration. Putting together my first business plan for my own business was really exciting and terrifying, and so much research to do. Oh my gosh, so much information that needed to be gathered for that business plan.
So let me ask you another question. So you did a number of things. If you were going to share with us what was the most important thing that you did, because there's, sometimes there's a lot of things to do, but what would be one thing that would build our confidence and send us in the right direction for determining our awakening and our infinite potential? What would be the most important thing?
For me, it was really about stopping and listening to myself and listening to my gut and saying, okay, so what do I really think I need to do next? And given the analytics piece and the emotional piece and the financial pieces and the context of my life at the time, I really needed to think about all of that and think deeply about where I was going and what pieces I really needed next, and finding people and resources. So me first, pay attention, and then start looking for the right resources.
I got it. Now, if someone is actually afraid of this inner search, like they don't really feel like they're ready, but they want to get into action, what would be your advice to them? So they're a little reluctant, they're on the verge of finding their awakening, but honestly, the world today is pretty scary. What would you tell those people who are a little confronted with the inner deep search? What could they do to smooth the way to that point by being in action, doing something slightly different that isn't as daunting?
I would say really start working on your friend network. So many times when we're in corporate, our family and our friends are our family and our friends.
Right.
But they're not necessarily the people that are going to buy from us. And I see a lot of people that get so frustrated and so upset because their family and their friends don't buy from them, whether it's direct sales or you have a storefront, whatever it is. They're so really heartbroken because their family and their friends just do not support them. And it's awful, really. It's a really terrible feeling that your family and friends are going, yeah, I'm going to go buy this Coach handbag, but I'm not going to buy, one of your handmade creations from you. And they don't see that as being any kind of a problem. And of course, you as the person who is, making those handbags or whatever, really do feel that slight and that emotional cut, and it's almost like being, sliced to death 1,000 times, death by a million small cuts kind of a thing. So finding that support network, those friends who can support you in your business and in your venture, if you're thinking that may be something you're wanting to do, or whatever you're looking to do, find a core group of people and of friends who are really friends, who are going to help you make that transition, and who are going to be there when you need somebody to rely on and lean on. Because as you're making transitions in your life, there are going to be people in your old life who are totally triggered by the transitions that you start to make. It may be your spouse, it may be your mother. You may get really weird comments, even from your children, about, Mom, why are you doing this, kind of a thing.
Yeah. And what I'm actually hearing, which I think is so important here, is that you have business relationships, friends and acquaintances, and referral partners, and then you have your personal and your family. And there really is a distinction, and expecting your family to be a business support and your business support to be your family doesn't exactly work, right?
It may not work. It may not come together. I mean, my kids are, happy with me and my business so long as it's making them money to spend. But I make absolutely no mistake, and I have no delusions whatsoever, that to my kids, my business is just a source of income. Otherwise, it's totally uncool and they don't care about it one lick. And they're kind of mortified that their mother does what she does to make a living. Absolutely.
I love that, Haley. Oh, that's fantastic. So really, people could join the Women's Entrepreneur Network.
Absolutely.
Right? And then when they get on a large Facebook group or any Facebook group, let's say that's your research. You found a place where there are other entrepreneurs, or there are other healthcare workers, or they do what you do. What would be their model or their behavior when they first found and got into one of these groups? What would you recommend for them?
I would recommend having conversations with people. Respond to other people's posts. Get to know people. The biggest mistake I see people making in business and life is that they rush too fast into the whole me first thing, rather than observing and interacting and contributing before they receive back. And it's really funny, because the more you contribute and you put out there and you start reaching towards other people and having coffees with them virtually or in person and really connecting with people, the faster that energy comes flowing back to you. But the more that you start doing that me thing, whether it's in a mom's group or whether it's in a networking group or business, anywhere, the faster people are going to run from you, and you're going to be chasing them, wondering why nobody wants anything to do with you. And it gets really frustrating, and you kind of feel like, that odd person out that nobody wants to talk to.
Yeah, and really that's, you should know that Haley is a marketing master. And what I'm hearing is, through this observation, as you get into a Facebook group, if you're one of these people that's a little put off by the confusion of what to do, and you decide, I'm going to go find a group, the important thing is to provide value first. Right? So what Haley's saying is, which is called pull marketing, rather than I have this great product and everybody needs it, and that's push marketing. So it sounds like what you're saying is observe,
Mm-hmm.
comment, find out what other people are doing and saying, right? Until you feel comfortable, and then you begin providing value.
Absolutely.
Would that be okay? Yes. So as we're getting toward the end of your presentation, Haley, for the people that are listening to you and they love what you're saying and they totally get what you're saying, what does awakening their infinite potential or your infinite potential really mean to you? What does that mean when you hear those words? To you, what is an awakening of our infinite potential?
To me, awakening your infinite potential is kind of an interesting thing, because it's really not an external thing. It's very much an internal, very much a deep awakening and a discovery about who you are or who you might be in that next phase of your life. And know that the only constant is change. And so as we are, continually changing, and the cells of our body are changing, and the person we are is changing, being aware of that and starting to be aware of how much amazing just brilliance we're truly capable of, and starting to really kind of listen to that and hone in on that and dig on that a bit, it can just be so beautiful. And you can create brilliant things.
Yeah. And so what would you say was your defining moment when you had an epiphany, like, oh my goodness, this is it for me. Nothing makes me happier. And I have a message, and I can really help people find their way to build a business, grow it, and sell it if that's what you want. Did you have a defining moment? What, like something happened and you went, oh.
Yeah,
so for me, there were a bunch of little ones.
Little ones, yeah.
But was there a person there? Was there an incident? Because that will help the listener figure out when it happens to them, oh, this may be one of my awakening moments.
Right. For me, it was that one person who came to me and asked me to say, hey, can you help me run these numbers and tell me, should I do this or should I do that in my business? And my answer was none of the above. And it was really exciting to me that was ultimately what they ended up deciding to do. And, really, it just lit my world up. And it lit my world up in a whole different way than being a software engineer ever had, because I really got to make a difference.
You were already making a difference with your family. My goodness, you had 4 children. You were in a master's program, juggling. So, but this is a different kind of excitement, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. It is. It's a very different kind of excitement, a very different kind of energy, and a different kind of difference. For me, I get lit up by helping other people. That's one of the things that just why my brain is wired to get high on. And when I can help people help themselves, it's just, to me, it's a whole other level of excitement. So, when it's marketing and helping people figure out how best to market their business in a way that makes sense to them, that like lights up all of the pleasure centers in my brain. And it was discovering that really lit up my brain in a way that was amazing, that I just loved.
Oh, I think that's awesome. So tell us what's on your download, because now we're in a place where, okay, I get it. I really do need to do this inner work, and it's okay if I'm not quite ready, but I need to observe and be ready for those signs like you had that made us more aware, right? So it's really, tell us what the download is and how it will help us move closer to awakening our own infinite potential.
Right. This is a guide that I put together, and it's called the Nitty Gritty Guide. I love this guide because it is a sort of a checklist for new entrepreneurs, things that you need to do when you're first starting your business that nobody tells you about. And the bits and the pieces of information that, gosh, if somebody had told me I needed this stuff when I first started, I would have been over the moon. But this stuff isn't like generally available. I mean, it kind of is, but there's this assumption that you're just born knowing somehow, which is really not the case, right? We have to learn by trial and error and everything else. And this guide, this Nitty Gritty Guide, really helps that.
Oh, I love that. So we actually have a checklist of all. So you've actually synthesized your knowledge in a simple checklist for us. Oh, that is so awesome. So that is the opt-in, and you can join Haley's Facebook group, Women's Entrepreneur Network. Be sure to answer the questions. You can find her at leadershipgirl.com. And so as we close the interview and your presentation, I thank you so much. Is there one last thing that you would tell the people listening right now that would empower them to know and have perfect faith that they also have infinite potential?
I think that it's important to recognize that we have it within us. And sometimes we have to have faith that we really do have it within us and that we can, take charge and do it for ourselves.
And you're saying, have faith, take the step, and there are people out there to help you.
Absolutely.
Oh, this is so awesome. Haley, thank you so much for trading your time, which I know is so valuable, to give to all of these people that are on the verge of awakening their infinite potential. This has been so incredibly informative and filled with value. I'm headed to download your document and your checklist and guide right now. So thank you so much for being here. Have a lovely day.